First, there was a loss. Not the kind you can point to on a calendar. Not the kind that comes with casseroles and condolence cards. The quiet kind. The kind that happens in the space between what you needed and what you got. Between who you were and who you had to become to survive it. Maybe it was a person who left. Maybe it was a love that didn't come. Maybe it was just the slow, cruel realization that the world you were born into was not the world you were promised. That the people who were supposed to keep you safe were just people, and people break. And sometimes they break you on their way down.
And something in you, something open, something spontaneous, something that said yes to life without thinking. That something closed. Not all at once, not dramatically, just a small contraction, a pulling back, a voice that whispered, "Be careful. This is how you get hurt." You didn't know it then, but that moment, that small, sensible protection, was the first stone in a wall you would spend years building, brick by brick, defense by defense, each one reasonable, each one necessary, each one bringing you closer to the person you never meant to become.
The loss became nostalgia. You learned to love what once was more than what is, because what once was is safe. What once was can't hurt you anymore. The past became a refuge, a place you could return to in your mind where everything was still possible, still pure, still untouched by the knowledge that came after. You became an archaeologist of your own life, digging through memory for evidence that you were once capable of joy, once capable of trust, once capable of the kind of open-hearted presence that now feels like a language you've forgotten how to speak. And standing in the ruins of what was, you began to turn away from what is. Then it became irony. You learned to hesitate, to hold back, to put a layer of cleverness between yourself and the raw experience of wanting something. Someone offered you their heart, and you made a joke. Someone showed you beauty, and you found the flaw. Someone reached for you, and you stepped back. Not cruelly, just carefully, wrapped in the armor of not quite meaning it. Irony felt like sophistication, like you'd learned something the earnest people hadn't, like you were protecting yourself from the embarrassment of caring too much, needing too much, hoping too much. Better to be the one who sees through things than the one who believes in them. But irony is just fear with a college degree. It's the art of staying distant while pretending you're present, of watching your own life from the outside and calling it wisdom. And you felt it happening. You felt yourself becoming the person who couldn't receive a compliment without deflecting it, couldn't express affection without coding it in sarcasm, couldn't let anyone see you wanting something without immediately proving you didn't really need it. The irony felt light at first, playful, smart. But it was a weight you didn't know you were carrying, the weight of never quite meaning what you say, of never quite saying what you mean. Then it became melancholy. The lightness curdled. Irony turned inward and became a kind of mourning. You started grieving what perhaps can't be. Not what was lost, you'd already lost that, but what might never come. The future you could feel slipping away even as you stood in the present, unable to reach for it. You saw other people falling in love and felt the ache of watching from outside. You saw joy and couldn't remember how to enter it. You saw possibility and felt only the crushing certainty that it wasn't for you. Not anymore. You'd missed your chance. You'd closed the door. You were too late, too damaged, too far gone. Melancholy is a beautiful sadness. It has poetry in it. It has a certain nobility, a tragic elegance. You could wear it like a coat and feel almost romantic in your sorrow, almost special in your inability to hope. But underneath the beauty was something darker. The growing suspicion that you weren't grieving what can't be. You were grieving what you were refusing to let be. That the distance between you and the life you wanted wasn't fate. It was choice. Your choice. The choice to stay behind the glass. And that knowledge that you were doing this to yourself made the melancholy curdle into something harder. Then it became cynicism, too clever to trust, too smart to be fooled. You stopped grieving what you couldn't have and started attacking what you could. You became the person who explains why love doesn't work, why hope is naive, why the people who still believe are just too stupid to see the truth. Cynicism feels like power, like you've figured out the game and now you're above it, like you can't be hurt because you've already seen through everything. Every gesture of affection became a manipulation. Every act of kindness became a transaction. Every moment of beauty became evidence of the ugliness underneath. And you were good at it. You could dismantle anything. You could find the flaw in any hope, the crack in any foundation, the hidden motive in any generosity. You became a detective of disappointment, always finding what you were looking for. But cynicism isn't wisdom. It's aggression. It's bullying what might be before it has a chance to become. It's the art of staying safe by making sure nothing can survive your scrutiny. You thought you were protecting yourself. You were just making sure you'd never have to risk being wrong about how hopeless everything is. Because if something good happened, if something real broke through, then you'd have to face how much time you'd wasted being clever instead of open. Better to be right about the darkness than wrong about the light. Then it became despair. The cleverness ran out. The arguments exhausted themselves. You couldn't keep up the performance of being above it all. The cynicism collapsed into the truth it was trying to hide. You weren't too smart to hope. You'd just lost the ability to. Despair is when you stop fighting. When you stop explaining why it won't work and just accept that it won't. Not for you. Not ever. The hope that it may happen, that someone might see you, that love might find you, that life might open up in the way you once believed it could, that hope finally died. And there's a strange peace in despair, a relief. You don't have to try anymore. You don't have to scan the horizon for signs of rescue. You don't have to keep your heart slightly open just in case. You can finally, fully give up. You stopped looking for love. You stopped imagining futures. You stopped making plans that included being happy. You just existed, moved through days, went through motions, waited for nothing, because nothing was coming. But despair is exhausting. Even giving up takes energy. Even hopelessness requires a certain vigilance, the constant reminder that there's no point, the endless rehearsal of all the reasons why. And slowly, beneath the despair, something even quieter was growing. Then it became indifference. You stopped feeling the loss, stopped grieving, stopped caring that you'd stopped caring. The despair burned itself out and left only ash. You became numb, expecting nothing, feeling nothing, not even sad about it anymore. Indifference is the tomb where hope goes to die. It's the place where even suffering becomes boring, where you can watch your own life happening and feel nothing about it. Not disappointment, not resignation, nothing. You moved through the world like a ghost. People spoke to you and you responded with the right words, but there was no one home behind your eyes. You went to work, ran errands, maintained friendships with the part of yourself that remembered how to perform human connection. But inside, you were empty. The emptiness felt safe. If you feel nothing, nothing can hurt you. If you want nothing, nothing can be taken away. If you are nothing, you have nothing to lose. You thought this was peace. You thought you'd finally found a way to live that didn't hurt. You didn't realize you'd found a way to live that wasn't living. Because indifference isn't the absence of pain. It's the death of everything else. It's the place where you sacrifice joy to avoid suffering and discover that without one, you can't have the other. That feeling nothing about the bad means feeling nothing about the good. That safety and aliveness cannot coexist. But you were so tired, too tired to feel, too tired to hope, too tired to even despair anymore. So you stayed numb, and the numbness hardened into philosophy. Then it became nihilistic. You didn't just stop hoping. You decided hope was a lie. You didn't just stop believing in love. You decided love was a story we tell ourselves to avoid the truth. You didn't just give up. You made giving up into a worldview. Nihilism is the fortress built from the rubble of every defense that came before. It's not just, I can't be happy. It's, happiness is an illusion. Not just, I won't be loved. It's, love doesn't exist. Not just, I'm broken. It's, everything is broken, and anyone who doesn't see that is deluding themselves. You rejected existence itself. You looked at the world and decided there was no place for you in it. No warmth, no deeper meaning, just the futile repetition of birth and death and the suffering in between. And the people who couldn't see this, who still laughed, still loved, still hoped, they were just too afraid to face reality. You became a prophet of emptiness. You could explain with perfect logic why nothing matters, why trying is pointless, why existence is a cosmic joke and consciousness is a curse. You had arguments. You had evidence. You had the smug satisfaction of being the only one brave enough to see through the charade. But here's what you didn't see. Nihilism isn't brave. It's the ultimate act of self-protection. If nothing matters, you can't fail. If nothing means anything, you can't be hurt by choosing wrong. If existence is futile, you don't have to risk making something of yours. Nihilism is the final wall, the last defense, the place you go when every other protection has failed and you need one more reason, one final, irrefutable reason to never have to try again. And you thought you'd finally arrived, finally found the truth that explained everything, finally built a fortress so complete that nothing could touch you. You didn't realize you'd built a tomb. Then suddenly, and it is sudden, even though it's been building for years, the shell of your no became too painful. The dissociation became too anxious. The retreat hurt more than your courage to move forward. The thing that was supposed to protect you became the thing destroying you. Because here's what happens when you spend years building walls. Eventually, you run out of air. Eventually, the safety becomes suffocation. Eventually, you realize that the thing you're hiding from isn't out there. It's the hiding itself. The irony made you clever, but lonely. The melancholy made you interesting, but unreachable. The cynicism made you safe, but cruel. The despair made you certain, but dead. The indifference made you painless, but empty. The nihilism made you right, but alone. And one day, maybe it's a Tuesday, maybe you're just sitting in traffic, maybe there's nothing special about the moment at all. You feel it. The crack. Not in the world, in you. The no that's been protecting you for so long splinters. And through the crack, something you thought was dead pushes through. Something stubborn, something that refuses to stop wanting, even though wanting has only ever led to hurt. The deeper yes.
The one that was there before the loss. The one that got buried under all the defenses. The one that never actually died. It just learned to whisper so quietly you forgot it was there. And it's not saying everything will be fine. It's not promising that this time will be different. It's not offering guarantees or insurance or any of the things that would make opening up again feel rational. It's just saying, I can't do this anymore. I can't stay closed. The cost of protection is too high. I would rather risk being destroyed by life than continue to be destroyed by hiding from it.
This is the most terrifying moment, because nothing has changed except you can't keep doing what you've been doing. The world is still uncertain. Love is still risky. People still leave. Hearts still break. All the reasons you built the walls are still valid. But the walls have become a grave, and you are still, somehow, alive. And that aliveness is demanding something of you. It's demanding that you try again, that you trust again, that you dare to begin. Not because you're healed, not because you've figured it out, not because you have new information that makes vulnerability safe, but because the alternative, staying closed, has revealed itself to be a slower death than any heartbreak could ever be. You stand at the edge of yourself. Behind you, the fortress you built from every hurt, every lesson, every promise to never let this happen again. Ahead of you, the terrifying openness of a life where you might get hurt exactly as badly as you were hurt before.
And you realize the yes was never about safety. It was never about avoiding pain. The spontaneous yes to life that you once had before the loss, before the defenses, it wasn't naive. It wasn't ignorant of danger. It was brave. It was the choice to be alive, to experience, even if experience includes suffering. It was the knowledge that you cannot have the good without risking the bad, and that both are preferable to the numbness of having nothing. So you begin. Not boldly, not confidently, not with any certainty that this time will be different.
You begin because the shell has cracked and you cannot uncrack it. You begin because the yes in your heart has grown louder than the no in your head. You begin because you've finally learned what the defended never learn. You cannot break what is already broken open. The heart that has survived irony, melancholy, cynicism, despair, indifference, and nihilism, that heart is not fragile. It's the strongest thing you've ever known. It has descended into every layer of protection and come back carrying the one truth that matters. I want to live. I want to feel. I want to love. Even if it costs me everything, it is worth more than the nothing I've been protecting. So you take the first step. Maybe it's small. Maybe it's just letting yourself feel the grief you've been avoiding. Maybe it's allowing yourself to want something without immediately explaining why you can't have it. Maybe it's saying, I love you, without the irony. Maybe it's just staying in the room when every instinct says to leave. Maybe it's admitting that the loss that started all of this, the hurt that obscured your spontaneous yes, maybe it's finally grieving that instead of defending against it. Maybe it's feeling the nostalgia for what once was, and then, instead of living there, turning toward what is. You were here, still here, after everything, after all the ways you tried to disappear, after all the defenses and the dissent and the darkness. You are still here. And the world, this uncertain, dangerous, beautiful world, is still offering itself to you, still asking if you want to participate, still leaving the door open, even though you've spent years slamming it shut. The yes doesn't promise you won't be hurt again. It promises that you'll be alive to feel it, that you'll be present for your own life, that you'll risk devastation for the chance at beauty.
And after all the ways you've tried to die without dying, that aliveness, raw, undefended, terrifyingly real, feels like resurrection. Not from death, from the living death of safety, from the tomb of your own making. You cannot go back to who you were before the loss. That person is gone. But you can go forward as someone who has descended through every defense and chosen, finally, to be defenseless, to trust again, to hope again, to let your heart crack open one more time. Daring to begin. Not because you're healed, but because staying broken in the same way has become unbearable. Not because you're fearless, but because you've learned that fear and courage are not opposites, they're companions. Not because you know how this ends, but because you've discovered that not knowing is the only honest way to live. The descent taught you what the defended never learn. The walls that keep pain out also keep life out. The shell that protects you from breaking is the same shell that prevents you from blooming.
So you crack open. You let the yes win. You dare to want, to need, to hope, to love, without knowing if it will love you back. And maybe it breaks you. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's not even the right question anymore. Maybe the only question is, will you be alive for it? And the answer, finally, is yes. Yes to the risk. Yes to the uncertainty. Yes to the terrible, beautiful possibility that life is still happening and you are still here to meet it. Yes to beginning again, and again, and again, as many times as it takes, until the last breath leaves your body and you can say, finally, I was here. I felt it. I let it touch me. I said yes.